Hey, I am back. I said it would take a month under the best circumstances, and it pretty much is a month now. A lot about my small horror game project has changed since last time. I worked on the list I showed in Devlog-0, slowly crossing off most of the points. Not all, scratch the basic main menu. I think that one's going to get its own devlog, where I'll talk about the design I have in mind in more detail. But all those other things are finally implemented, and the game starts to feel like something that is actually playable. So, without much further ado, let's get into the changes. The living room and TV room are finished. Not completely, no room is 100% finished, just mainly. The living room went from an empty space to a nice room with paintings, a dinner table, wooden beams, a reading area, and rug. When you switch off the light, the moonlight coming through the window splits the room in a colder blue and warmer red area. I would lie saying this was intentional, but it looks quite nice. And as you can see, the problem with the emission is thankfully solved. This took an obscenely long time. I sat for hours trying to solve the problem. After banging my head at the wall, I even contemplated looking at Google's second page. But I don't know what awaits me there, so I read through endless forum entries and found this post which came to my rescue. With this code, the emission intensity switches between 0 and 7. I have no idea how it works, but it works a charm. After that I simply copied the emission material. Now every lamp got its own material, which can then be dis or enabled by clicking on the corresponding light switch. If I'm already talking about interacting with the level, why not stay with it? The number of interactive objects is way higher. Not only light switches and doors anymore. If we go in the kitchen, we can, for example, open the drawers or fridge. The way it works is to play an animation whenever the player presses left click. To prevent the player from spamming left click though and re-triggering the animation, I put an animation event on the end of each one. A very handy Unity function that makes it possible to access code in animations. It then knows that the animation has ended, and only when that is the case, the next animation can be triggered. Like here, I just continue to press left click, but it still plays the full animation before letting me close the drawer. We can also open the cupboards. They are empty right now, but I want to fill them with different 2D sprites of pots, pans, plates and such. Anyway, the important thing here aren't the empty cupboards, it's the ability to crouch. It doesn't work perfectly. I'm still struggling with the ray casting to prevent the player from standing up under an obstacle. You can just release C and put your head in whatever's above you. The boolean sort of recognizes an obstacle, it just can't settle on being true or false. It basically spasms out. I'll try fixing it in the future. It isn't overly important currently. The main reason for implementing crouching is that it'll make it easier to interact with anything closer to the ground. I may also use it in level design, so I think I keep it in. Another change, and this one is huge, sounds. You probably noticed it already. I made a sound manager to manage, figures, all the different sounds I want to add over the course of development. I used Brecky's tutorial as a basis. I had made audio/sound managers for my older projects, but I couldn't remember how, so Brecky's is always a good starting off point. I expanded it, referencing the mixers in my script, which will come in handy when making an options menu. The audio volume can be adjusted through these mixers. I also added an option to play a random sound from an audio clip array. The array can have multiple clips, and the play random sound function chooses one of those clips. You can hear it in action when I open and close a door. It plays one of two different sounds. I thought this would prevent players from getting annoyed by the same sound repeating constantly. I also have the option to stop a sound from playing. This can be used to stop a sound from playing. For example, if I look through the peephole, the knocking suddenly stops. Ah, right. Speaking of the peephole, I could show you what's outside. Why don't we open the door and leave our apartment? I built a hallway outside, which connects to the other apartment. If we go to the left though, ignoring the actual way, we can walk on forever. New chunks of hallway seem to appear indefinitely. It's a simple trick really, teleporting the player back when entering a trigger zone. If the place we are teleported back to looks about the same as the place the trigger is placed, the illusion looks quite solid. Anyway, let's go to the right where the other apartment is located. Here, the walls are worn down, the concrete is old and weathered, the lights and floor are dark and the door frames are out of rusted metal. I know this looks a bit Silent Hilly, but that was what I was going for. The shift in atmosphere is clear, I hope. And other than this old TV with VHS recorder, the rooms are empty. I always thought an empty apartment without any furniture is foreboding and lifeless, making it somewhat uncomfortable. For now, we cannot find anything here and aren't able to interact with the TV or recorder. The last thing I want to mention, and it's a small thing, post-processing. Here's the game without, here with it. I don't want to overdo it, though it could change dramatically in the future. Not much more to say about that. Well, that's basically everything notable that happened since last time. I'm going to keep working on Project Apartment, maybe making a devlog about the main menu or the actual gameplay inside the other apartment next. Whatever it is, thanks for watching. I'll keep you updated.